Hi guys.
Hey, welcome.
Hey, Nelson. Nice to see you.
So, especially talking about our impact to local communities and how we can build villages, eco villages, and support. Today, we're going to be talking about Portugal and the Solarpunk Mecca that's possible through Portugal. So, can you please introduce yourselves and some of your friends that we have here? And please feel free to hop into your presentation.
Thanks, Penguin. Cool. So I'm Nelson, based in Lisbon for a year now. I've been in the crypto industry as a computer engineer since 2016, and I guess like many others, the world lockdown, being locked down in Spain, made me rethink a little bit about how we live in how we live together, and kind of like wanted to be more connected to nature and what we need as humans, and then started a journey of exploring the possibilities using the technologies that we have access to create better living spaces, which led me to go to Portugal and meet those amazing human beings. Juan Pablo, do you want to present yourself?
Thank you for that. And it's very cool to meet you all. I came to Portugal quite randomly, but fell in love with the potential here, with the climate, with the people, and with the opportunities for regeneration. I've been working. My background is in business, but I evolved into regeneration through farming. And for me, it's a process to get more in touch with nature. I think as human beings, we've lost touch for good reason, but I think it's good to come back to it. So this is where I'm at. Goncalo, you want to go ahead? I don't know if you've been already.
Hey, so I specialize in building. I grew up actually in Portugal before I went off to uni, and I lived in other places. I've always been super curious about creating resilient spaces, whether that's with water autonomy, electrical power autonomy, food autonomy. So I spent some time also volunteering in different communities around the planet whilst I was getting on with building in Portugal. So I'm a boring real estate guy, but I specialize now in natural materials and integrated systems, recycling systems mostly, water, electrical, etc. And yeah, and I met a lot of these. I mean, everybody here actually in Portugal. At a time that I was starting to shift away from basically concrete and to something a little bit more sustainable, let's say. Yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Alex?
So I actually Gonzalo and I work in the same business, Off-Chain City, and work very closely with Nelson and Juan. What we do is technically we're Portugal's first and only fully regulated crypto fund. But what we actually do is kind of service our core community of people that tend to come from an innovation and crypto background to deploy that capital towards an end that we find more interesting. So we will invest in crypto on one side of the fund, and we will invest in real estate and building and developing concepts that Gonzalo mentions on the other side. So it's a way of bridging the digital assets and the real asset space. That's what we focus on.
Awesome, thanks. So I guess for this conversation, I see very two important aspects that we should mention. Is first the relationship between Portugal and the Web3 community in general, but also how can we then connect that to the real world, and especially all the needs in terms of like regeneration of water, the soil, biodiversity, and actually have a positive impact, especially regarding to our situation with climate change. So maybe we can start talking a little bit about the crypto scene, and especially there has been quite a lot of conversation internationally when I was traveling. People were asking, "Oh, what's happening in terms of like tax situation? The whole thing is changing in Portugal. People are unsure. There's lots of like, let's say, not exactly accurate information." And I'm pretty sure that you, Gonzalo, and Alex can maybe shed a little light how welcoming and how advantageous it is to set yourself up here.
Yeah, well, actually, so I think everyone knows, the reputation of Portugal as a place to come if you have crypto and crypto friendly. And this is mostly because historically it's been, there's been a very kind of flexible taxation status for crypto in the country. But I think it actually goes much more beyond that. So we're part of the National Web3 Working Group. So working quite closely with all the major crypto associations on one hand and directly with the government on the other. So with the Secretary of State and the Minister of Finance on how to define what the landscape is going to be from like a regulatory and a tax perspective. And yes, it's true that there will be increasing regulation. There will be some taxation. There will be some kind of control as to how you do things. Generally, with respect to the rest of Europe, Portugal is much more friendly. And the fact that we're having this open discussion, the fact that it's on the agenda to be open, to attract talent and to attract good people, is pretty central. And the fact that the community is growing here so rapidly and attracting good people, builders, people that are quite actively involved in community, people that aren't primarily and only driven by kind of tax incentives, I think says a lot for the sort of community that we're building here. And Gonzalo kind of approaches it from another side as well, so I'm sure he has a different viewpoint.
Complementary perhaps. Portugal also is a great place to come and set up in Europe. So if you are outside of Europe, you don't have a European passport, and you're a little bit unsure, but you want to start digging in or getting your feet wet, Portugal offers programs like the Golden Visa or non-habitual residency, which gives you a bunch of benefits. But the Golden Visa, for instance, gives you a European passport with an investment. So you invest either whether that's real estate, whether that's a fund like ours, and one or two other avenues. And within 5 years, you'll get your passport. Duration of those 5 years, you have a residency, so you'll be able to move in and out. For people who want to really settle down here, it's got not just the taxation benefits, but just a quality of life that's unbelievable. And that's why we're growing so rapidly. There seems to be a common thread about the people that come to settle here, which is they want to enjoy life beyond just the churn and beyond just the work all the time. So beautiful mix.
Yeah, that was really my impression in terms of like thinking, okay, what is Lisbon? What is Portugal? What's if you compare to Barcelona, London, and all those places, what is it? What is the real plus-value here? And I think what people are looking is for reconnection to nature, reconnection to themselves. Like they want to keep building, but they want to have a better quality of life. We actually leads me to the part about regeneration in nature, because there's also a lot of like techies and business people and crypto people. There's lots of people coming to buy land and create some kind of community, some kind of retreat space, or just like people that want to buy a house in nature to live with their friends. That's also very common. So I can see how those two things can make it really like the secret, the ingredient for the secret sauce to make it like a Solarpunk place, because you can then connect the people that can build the tech to the people that want to live connected to nature, and also showcase what showcase the processes, the techniques, which JP is gonna talk about that we can use to regenerate a lot of the, for example, desertified land in the middle of Portugal. So JP, maybe you can mention a little bit of the kind of work that you do, and then we can see how we can also use a lot of the crypto tool like regenerative finance to maybe enhance the kind of work that you guys are doing on the ground.
Yeah, so we started collaborating this past year, and what Rhizo is doing is basically designing edible landscapes. We understand that farming can be used as a tool for regeneration, but and in the sense using productivity to fuel more resilient ecologies. And in that sense, also allowing a space for the human being to interact with the ecosystem, which is not as we consider it to be now in this conventional model of allowing just tech and inputs to dominate farmland and the countryside, but allowing space for human beings to come in, not just with the work, with the labor, which is in sometimes applicable or not, but with the creativity of how do you come in and design these ecosystems so that they are healthy and resilient, but also benefit you as a human being and every other species that needs to have it healthy so that it can thrive. So at Rhizo, we love to solve this problem of understanding what is kind of like the natural potential vegetation that should be in place in wherever you want to do a tourism project or a farming project or a real estate project. It's what kind of ecology should be in place, and then from there, kind of like tailor it to your specific needs. This is kind of like an underlying value system that gives priority to strong ecology or ecology first. I think that layering this in the sense of ecology, then understanding added value or economics or farming, productivity, real estate as a second layer, and then lastly this element of humans and culture as kind of like the all-encompassing, enriching element that will make this thing come alive as well for humans. So yeah, at Rhizo, what we're trying to do is to simplify this process of understanding what kind of species should be in place, and yeah, this is kind of like where we were heading to with this specific project that we were collaborating together. And specifically for Portugal, I think that there is a lot to do because there have been historically some policies specifically in farming and that have reshaped vast ecosystems into eucalyptus forests or cornfields and then wheat fields, which basically are in line with having a market drive your ecology as opposed to the ecology driving the market, which is where we should be aiming towards. Because in that case, you really just have to nature do its own thing and just enhance it and leverage the natural processes on the ground. So you need to work less, have less inputs, and still have climate smart production system, rich with abundance. And in Portugal, it's really crazy how forgiving this land is and how amazingly things grow back very strongly. So yeah, feeling very excited about the potential here.
Yeah, and to give maybe a little bit perspective and context to what we're talking about. So originally we started working together because a little bit like the future thinkers in the previous talk, we have a regenerative smart village project here in Portugal, close to Lisbon, and as part of it, the idea was really to make a living lab and kind of like look at the quality of the soil, at the quality of like where is the water, is there enough water, see in terms of like biodiversity, but also in terms of like business model, like what can we grow to actually generate some money, but at the same time do some good in the land that can also like lower the temperature, make the water be more retained, and just great. And to be honest, just a nice place to live, just a nice place to live, and some food for ourselves. So I think really this work and what you can do is very important, but how it can connect to the crypto world in general and the world regenerative finance. I want to give a shout out to the Refi DAO, to the people from Refi Spring, Traditional Dream Factory, and Rebuild. They've been doing lots of work into bringing that into Portugal. But how can we create the business cases, the business models? Because very often those things, like it's like we have the science and the tech, but nobody's funding it because there's like it's either non-profit kind of work and people are like working hard on the ground, but they don't have the material, they don't have the machine, they don't have the money to actually make it go to the next level. And in my mind, I can see how crypto can be used, but also the kind of like token economics mindset or even the business minded mindset into creating some agroforestry project where you create a beautiful forest, but at the same time you generate some crop that you can sell on the market, and because they are high quality and this is what you have as higher value, right? This is like looking at like what do we have that is good here that we can sell somewhere else. I remember a conversation with you, JP. You mentioned like how organic almonds could be a great business model and generate like an impressive amount of money that when you mentioned it to me. So how can we help support the work on the ground and create the business models and the investment funnels so that the money goes into actually generate some real world assets, some real world impact, and not just the next yield and internet magic money, but actually be connected to what we use or what we need every day.
Yeah,
What are you doing, Nelson? Yeah.
Go for it.
I mean, this is exactly what we're trying to achieve with Off-Chain, right? So we have a lot of supporters that come from a crypto background with digital assets, but they also want to create, real world spaces and communities. And so that's why we come together, is to channel this like very intentional capital to support these sort of projects. Because as you know, here in Portugal, there's an abundance of land. There's amazing land. It's the fundamentals are very strong. There's a lot of people here that are very willing to commit their time and expertise to these sort of projects. But as you say, they don't have the capital because the models are slightly different. Luckily, we have a little bit more flexibility to be able to support these teams to acquire this land, to invest in the building, to invest in the community kind of building, and to enable them to get some sort of scale. So we need more of it for sure, and I guess we need to professionalize, like you say, not just the business models, because it's not just about business. A lot of it is societal models and collaboration models, but we do need to obviously bring professionals into the space to make things happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I agree, completely agree. I think that moving the kind of like the DeFi and all this insane amount of wealth that is in the crypto sphere, and potentially moving it into real assets, and then linking those with some type of ownership that can create. I mean, because traceability is already there, but this could go way beyond traceability. As you say, investing in these ecosystems and as you say, regeneration is something that is a technology that has been proven, and it seems that it's risky just because it just takes so long for you to get to understand the real benefits of what you're doing. But it is a long-term approach. So I think that mixing the risk appetite that you can have in crypto and investing into real life assets such as real estate, such as what Option is doing, or developing regenerative projects, it's very much a win-win because first of all, it's not as risky as you would think, and second, you are in line to basically add value at many different layers. You add value at increasing the value of the land once you set up a project on it, but you have the land backing that value. Then you have an agricultural model that is regenerative and therefore more resilient and will be productive. Then you have this element of conservation and land regeneration in it because you have more than one cash crop potentially as well, and also trees or species that have ecological functions and that might require to be protected. And then, for example, Portugal has a lot of areas where endemic species are disappearing. And if you say, well, I combine a farm mechanism with protecting an endangered species, there's multiple ramifications, especially as we move further into the natural capital evolving and literally giving value to ecological practices, carbon sequestration, water restoration, biodiversity restoration. I think through NFTs and through these things that literally pin down and can trace things to the source, it provides some transparency to what people are doing in the rural landscape, as well as other types of projects. But yeah, I think that there's a massive potential there to bringing an influx of this risk appetite and combining it into something that can grow quite well over time.
Yeah, and by the way, it doesn't mean that we have to sacrifice on-chain value, because I mean, with projects like Ethereum or Nelson Works or like Centrifuge, Tinlake for real estate assets, you can literally keep your collateral on chain and use that to keep yielding, whilst you already own and capitalized into projects like we're talking about. So it's an exciting new world.
Not to mention the governance as well, right? I mean, we looked at establishing DAO structures to basically manage the entire kind of village communities on the business side, but also like on the day-to-day life side. I think if we try to build those sort of concepts into our models, it's a new direction. I think just today we were speaking about we're in the process of basically establishing Lisbon's kind of first crypto members club, and the idea is that we would like to be able to exit that real estate space into some sort of a community managed DAO. So those concepts are super relevant.
Yeah. This is actually, I think it's a very important. It's kind of like an invitation, because I feel like gathering the Solarpunks together and all the different levels of skills and create that community in Lisbon that can then connect all those different instruments and tools that we have access to like land projects, to research decentralized science. There was a talk today talking about that. How could we do research on the land, get more data on chain about the sensors, kind of like really capture the result of like the kind of intervention that Juan Pablo can do, but also see the financial flows and then kind of like create those financial assets. And now you can tokenize land. And then you can I met in ETH Prague, the PWN crew that they're doing peer-to-peer lending for NFTs, right? So you could like use that to leverage getting access to cash, to liquidity. So there's all kinds of like Lego bricks that we can pull together, but online collaboration is good, but I think meeting, and that's why every time I go to a conference, like I see Penguin around, I see lots of friends, because we like to get together. And I think having like some kind of like pole where you could literally see the effect of the kind of like work in terms of sustainable furniture and construction, in terms of like nature, and like just like planting, and even get live data into like how much water is maintained in where there was an interruption, like give you access to all of that, and have this fertile ground, this melting pot where people exchange and experiment. I think that's going to be the next phase, because really you can start seeing with this cold winter that is coming to all of us on the crypto market, which to me is always like a good cleaning. We go back to fundamentals. I see the next phase really a reconnection to, let's have impact into the world. Let's build a Solarpunk hopeful future, and let's connect it to the land.
I had a quick question
Yeah.
about kind of culture and Portugal. Can you talk a little bit about how the native culture kind of supports the Solarpunk vision, and how you're kind of using the natural resources and the people to kind of build culture and help with crypto adoption
Yeah.
there?
I can start, give my perspective, and maybe others or can add to that.
Oh, yeah, we're almost out of time.
Yeah, I'm gonna be quick. Openness, lack of ego about it. That's the support that I've seen. People are like, we don't like. It's not like we don't know what to do, but kind of like, we don't know what to do. Come and help us. If you have an idea, something that you can do, they are very open to the conversation, which is not the case in a lot of countries. Like in some other countries, you try to do things a little bit different. They're like, no, you can't do it. In Portugal, they're always like, let's talk, right? In the Camara, in the region that we are working on building this village, the president of the region, received us and even like pointed us to like other land where we could do regeneration. So I think they are very open and welcoming to people that want to do good things. At least that's been my perspective. But maybe Goncalo, as a local, you can say what you think.
The environment is very positive here towards new ideas, new implementations. So municipalities are dying to have investment into sustainability, development, all of this. So it couldn't be any better.
And also, just like historically, just understanding Portugal historically was a very wealthy country, but in more recent times it's come under some hardship, and what's really been left here in a way is just like all the natural beauty, and it's remained kind of untouched. And then the first generation of settlers that came here from abroad, they really came for a simple life, and they came for just like a good life that was taking advantage of what was here, and that was nature, and there wasn't much more than that. And I think that culture is still very much here. There is an underlying kind of alternative, like slash kind of hippie heritage in a way, and I think that kind of that shapes a lot of what we do.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone, so much for your opinions and for sharing your time and the amazing work you're doing in Portugal.